Hello, my name is Gio, short for George, and this is another episode of my printmaking channel. So today, I have a very special video for you all. Normally, I'll be doing tutorials of different ways you can make prints. However, today, I have a special interview with someone that makes prints professionally. I'm going to send it over to my counterpart, George, for all of you to be introduced to printmaker Louann Elliot. Take it away! Thanks, George. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Louann Elliot, leader of the Tiger Lily Press. Louann, how are you?
I'm doing good now that we're going. So,
Technology is a hell of a thing. But yes, hello. So Louann, why don't you introduce yourself?
well, I'm Louann Elliot, and I'm the president of Tiger Lily Press, located in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Tiger Lily has been in existence since 1979, so 41 years this year. And it's an all volunteer group of printmakers. And there's a fabulous amount of printmaking that we do. We do letterpress, we do silk screen, litho, etching, and relief printing. So we have a very well-rounded group of printmakers.
So, first things first, when was your start in printmaking? I talked to one of my supervisors for this project about this, and she mentioned that you actually began printmaking much later than I have at this point in my life.
Right, I was. I was living in Florida, and I was actually my work life was as a nurse, so I've been in nursing forever. And I retired a couple years ago, and so now I can concentrate on art more full time. But my interest in printmaking, I had no idea what printmaking was, and I was in Pensacola, Florida, and one of my supervisors, who was a sculptor, challenged me to take some drawing classes. And there was a an instructor, Sue Buck, who was, I did a lot of drawing classes with her, basic and figure and all. And one semester, she was just going to teach this thing called printmaking. And I had no idea what it was, but I signed up for it. And actually, I didn't think I would be accepted because she was only taking 8 students, and I had no idea what a printmaking was. But anyway, I got accepted and fell in love with printmaking. So that was the introduction to printmaking. So I
Right.
was what you would call a non-traditional student.
Right. So, when you began printmaking, what kind of subjects were you focused on?
I've always liked the human figure, and so probably was concentrating more on the figure, but yeah, more like figurative drawing. I mean, I like the human body, so and I like to capture um, the essence of the person. So I would say the human form. I like biomorphic because trees to me are very much, if you look at them, they're almost human in the forms they take. So I like that biomorphic um, figure.
How would you say your work has evolved from that starting point then?
Well, I've always been like when I paint, and I'll give you a little bit of background because I did not grow up around art. No museums, no, I mean, art just wasn't in my growing up years, but I was always drawing as a kid from the time I can remember. In fact, my first experience in painting was my dad was supposed to be watching me, and my mom went someplace, and I got her fingernail polish and painted her shoes. So, and I don't remember that. That's my mom's story. But anyway, so, but what I did when I was learning more about art, what I paint and what I draw is pretty recognizable. I'm not a super realist, but you recognize what I'm painting and drawing. And printmaking allows me to be free. And so my work in printmaking versus my painting, they're two different genres. When I do printmaking now, I start with reality. I'll do a plate or something that is recognizable, and then I start to tear it apart and flip it upside down. So I become very more about space and floating through that space. And I want the viewer to be curious about what's around that edge. If I go into that part of that print, where am I going? So sort of like space. I like space. I could just drift around in space. So that's what I want. I sort of think that's what I want the viewer to look at. It's like, if I went over there, what would it be like? So I'm more probably not abstract, probably more expressionist, maybe.
All right, nice. Yeah, I definitely I feel like that once an artist has learned the basics, they will always draft towards, extremes in their own way. And expressionism is definitely one that I've studied and admired. So, cool cool on you. All right. So let's talk about, Tiger Lily. When did you begin collaborating with other printmakers?
Well, probably I went to the Art Academy and graduated in '92 and had a printmaking and painting major. And so I knew about Tiger Lily then. And I think it was around '92 or '93, Tiger Lily was still located at the Art Academy in the Mount Adams building. And I became the president of Tiger Lily for a couple years then, so I knew about it, was introduced with it. So I got to start meeting some other local printmakers in that little genre there, or that little group. So probably '92, '93, I began to be more aware of other printmakers other than the ones that are dead in the history books. But I was going to say, in '93, my husband and I moved to Madison, Wisconsin, and I was considering going back and getting my master's at the University of Wisconsin in Madison because Francis Myers was the department head, and Wisconsin was the place to go if you were interested in learning more about etching. But I started running space at AGB Graphics, which is the master printmaker was Andy Balkin. And so one day he asked me, he said, "Do you want to teach or do you want to produce?" And I said, I'd rather produce. And he goes, "You don't need a master's." And he was very encouraging. He says, "Well, all you need to do is get your own press." So when we moved back to the Cincinnati area, that was one of the first things I did was buy a press. So, but at Wisconsin, I got to meet several printmakers, especially, he did a portfolio of some Chicago artists like Ken Worsom, Jim Nutt, his wife, and I always forget her name. I always confuse it with Lois Nettleson, but it was Louise something. Um, David Beck. Um, anyway, oh, and Ed Paskey. So they're all Chicago painters, but they came up to Madison to do to produce some prints, and it was fun being in the studio with them because you learned a lot and you looked at how they thought. And they'd ask you questions, and you'd go, "You're asking me, and you're a professional." So it was a fun experience.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had to work with other students in my studios at school, so I totally understand that, like, kind of crashing of different personalities and like levels of expertise and all of that. So yeah, I definitely feel
Mm-hmm.
that's very strong for people to be involved with each other in that way. But I wanted to ask about, so over Tiger Lily's, more recent years, what sort of events have you guys been able to do, pre COVID hitting and
COVID.
destroying everything, basically?
Yeah, it's a lost year for everything. Um, well, Tiger Lily's always, it has about 50 members, give or less. Take more or less, take a few. But we have a well-rounded group, and we always have what we call a print sale. And we usually do that in November. And of course, this year we're not doing it. And a couple of years ago, we opened it. It was just for Tiger Lily members, and then we opened it to other groups, and it's been fantastic. We've gotten big crowds when we do it. But this year we didn't do it. And every year we have an annual members show that's a juried show or curated so that, we have the best of the best going in. And we are having one in February at Casa Sykes here in Cincinnati. So, and hopefully we'll have some in person, with limitations or regulations on how to see it, but it'll also be online. So it's open to all members only, and we each get to put two pieces in, so that'll be fun. And then we'll have a little bin of little prints. And then every other year, Tiger Lily Press produces a calendar, and this was the year of, and they're very successful. And it's done with like a flat relief. They're relief prints, and they are just exquisite. And we make a limited edition, and usually they're sold out once we announce them. And but this year was the year we were supposed to do it, so now we've delayed it to 20 next year to 2021. So we've got all the calendar part. What we did last year was separate the print from the calendar so there's a space, and so people can actually cut the calendar off, and then they've got an original print. So, because they're all hand pulled, every single one of them. We do about 120 calendars and hope we get 100 out of them. Because when you print, you got to print more than you think you're going to get.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
so those are some of the things that we do routinely, and we do offer classes. And right now we're looking at putting some classes online and doing some events that way because we've been closed. People are afraid to go out. So anyway, so that's what we're doing. And we participate with other groups. So, we try to make a loud noise and let people know we're here. And because printmaking is really sort of specialized. A lot of people, you go, oh, I'm a printmaker. Oh, you do those pretty letters? And it's like, no, that's calligraphy. So,
Yeah, that's different. I wanted
so.
to ask who at Tiger Lily helps make the calendars? Is it everyone? Is it like a specific few who are good at, that exact
Well, no,
process?
right. Well, you're invited to make a page, a month, so you might, if you get January, that if it were you, then you got to make those 120. But we have John Paul Smith is the chair of of the calendar this year, but he and Susan Naylor, who's been with Tiger Lily for a long time, sort of keep the ball rolling. So the printmakers are invited to make a page, and then they have to create their block and they have to print it. So
Right.
it's a long process, because you have to make those many prints and you're working around other people's schedules, and then you got to wait for that ink to dry. So and sometimes I think we've got our paper down now so that, it's good. And we've always used good paper, but you know how you search for a good support for your print. And so I think we have over the years figured out all those little kinks.
All right. We've just got like a couple more questions left. This kind of ties back to earlier in your life, but also now, who would you say are like your big influences? Like when you were starting out and like even now, what would you say, person wise or as you mentioned, subject wise, what like is your big influence in your art making?
That's sort of a hard question for me to answer. And I've heard people answer it and they have these nice long academic answers. But going back to my much younger years, I would probably be like everybody else. You saw Da Vinci and Michelangelo and all those people way back a long time ago. And so you sort of look at those, but you don't, and then it's not until you read more or see more that you begin to see other ways of art. And so, as far as who influences me, um, there's probably a couple, and I do, I mean, they're all dead now, but I love the Impressionists, and Paul Cézanne is my favorite. He's my favorite of all my favorite artists. He's always up there, and printmaking wise, I've seen quite a few. There's this Gary Olson in um, Canada that I like his attitude and his freedom. And I don't know if he influences me, but I like to watch other people print and how they do it and how they go about it. But I don't know that any one person inspires me. It's always, I mean, it just comes from within myself. Not that I'm a great influencer, but I don't know how to say that, but because I don't have a long answer for that. And I've always dreaded that question, because I'm sure a lot of people influence me in some way, but I couldn't tell you exactly how. Although I do like um, texture and mark making in work, and not to make it real busy, but that's one thing I really enjoy is the texture. Um, like what you can do with a piece of paper, what you can do with that surface, and how you can make it look, and even how you can make the dark areas very active. So I don't know how. I know I didn't answer your question, but I don't know how to answer
Oh no, trust me, trust me. This answer was actually quite wonderful.
it. I don't sit around and ponder things, so I mean I do in my head, but anyway.
All right, so I have one more question for you then. So as you mentioned,
Okay.
you like looking forward. So what do you
Hmm.
see for your future, as a printmaker, as, someone active in the printmaking community of Cincinnati? And what do you also see for the future of Tiger Lily?
Well, it's always hard to say what the future of Tiger Lily is going to be because it's all volunteers. And, we're trying to get a younger group in because you guys are the ones that next are going to carry on Tiger Lily, your generation. So we do try to reach out, however unsuccessfully or however lopsided it is. I think we're going to be doing a better job in the future of connecting with, like DAP and NKU and some of these colleges that have and universities that have printmaking programs so that you all know we exist, and hopefully will come and be a member. For my future, it's always sort of been my goal to be a printmaker's printmaker. You want people to like your work, but I want printmakers to like my work more than anybody else
Yeah?
because they know what's involved.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, like, you always learn, and I know I've got a lot more to learn. You have to, I just want to keep plugging away and moving forward. But like I say, my goal is to be a printmaker's printmaker.
Yeah, that's a very admirable goal.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if I'll achieve it, but it's admirable anyway.
Fair enough. All right. Well, yeah, that's all of the questions I have. Thank you so much for this interview. It was really, really great.
Well, you're welcome, and I hope you're successful with your class
Yeah.
in your in doing your project here. So, but thank you. I really enjoyed it. It's fun.
Well, that was our wonderful interview. I'll send it back to me.
Okay.
All right. And back. I wanted to thank Louann Elliot one more time for doing such an amazing job on this interview. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you all very soon. Take care.